Oh man, look at this aspect ratio. Golly. Last time I made a remark about a Disney Channel original movie being old, y'all got offended and jumped me in the comments. And while that probably did end up being good for the video's overall engagement, I don't want to make anyone mad again. But regardless, Cadet Kelly is totally one of Disney's most well-known original films. A lot of this has to do with who was in it, as the movie starred a few of the more recognizable faces from that era. Shawn Ashmore, along with starring in a few of the X-Men films as Iceman, was also in a Disney Channel show of his own called In a Heartbeat. Christy Carlson Romano, of course, was known for Even Stevens and Kim Possible around this time, Please Unblock Me. But of course, the leading factor to this movie's popularity is who got top billing, as it was none other than the icon herself, Hilary Duff. Y'all know who she is, y'all know what she's done. I don't even need to go into detail for real. Classic Disney Channel formula right here. Come up with a plot, cast actors from a bunch of shows around that time as the leads, film it, edit it, release it. We've seen this done dozens and dozens of times. However, did that strategy end up proving to be successful this time around? Only one way to find out. My name is Mr. Nostalgia, and today we will be taking a look at the classic Disney Channel original movie, Cadet Kelly. Cadet Kelly premiered on Disney Channel on March 8th, 2002. The film debuted to 7.8 million views, which made it the highest rated DCOM premiere of all time, before High School Musical will snatch this chain 4 years later. The film follows the adventures of Kelly Collins, a high school age girl that lives life maybe a little too freely. She's quirky, adventurous, and oftentimes unintentionally destructive. Basically Ramona from Ramona and Beezus in a few years. Check out my video on that movie, by the way. Kelly's parents are divorced, a trope seen in a lot of these kinds of films. The good news is, instead of using that as a way to cause drama in this movie, she seems to get along really well with both, which has no doubt helped her parents get along with each other as well.
Hi.
Whoa, 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 whoa! Talk about moving on. That's why she's so happy. Golly. Turns out Kelly's mom has moved on to someone else, this person being General Joe Maxwell, commandant of George Washington Military Academy. Fortunately, Kelly seems to get along with him decently enough too. I'm glad they kind of avoided the whole "you're not my dad" subplot. That would have made this movie 10 times worse to get through. Matter of fact, when she hears that the two are getting married, she's actually pretty happy for them. That is, until she finds out what exactly this would mean for her in the long run. See, I mentioned earlier that Joe's job is at a military academy, and so in order for him to keep his job, they'll all have to move upstate. Yeah, very few people from New York City would be okay with moving upstate, especially if they spent a lot of time there. I mean, that truly ended up being in New York as 9/11. Nevertheless, the move ends up happening, and carefree, happy-go-lucky Kelly will now be forced to attend school at a military academy, one that obviously runs a tight ship. So now more than ever, she'll be forced to lock in. This is when we start to meet the other characters of the movie. Literally, as soon as she sits down, she meets a girl named Carla who will end up becoming her closest friend at the academy. Not too long after that, we meet Captain Jennifer Stone, not to be confused with Jennifer Stone, the head honcho of the girls played by Christy Carlson Romano. Captain Stone is one of the reasons why this academy runs such a tight ship, as she's very focused on making sure the girls do exactly as she says. And considering Kelly's personality type, naturally this will lead to some tension between the two. The only other character worth noting is Brad, played by Shawn Ashmore. Shout out my dog Bobby Drake, man. I'll never forget how he's moving in Days of Future Past. You know, before they melted him. Brad is this dude Captain Stone has a crush on, and it's kind of potentially implied that Kelly does too, but they never really do much with it. Probably for the best, considering there's an 8-year age gap between them in real life. We wouldn't want a repeat of How to Build a Better Boy now, would we? Check out my video on that too. My biggest problem with this movie is that it's just way too long, and even more unfortunate is that after the first 20 minutes, it low-key stops becoming entertaining, at least for a while. It's clocking in at about an hour and 40 minutes, which isn't terribly unheard of for a kid's movie, but it does make it one of the longer DCOMs. And sadly, at least for me, there's just not enough in it that makes the runtime worth it. After the first 20 minutes, the movie starts to focus heavily on the first half of its main message. I say the movie in general actually has a lot in common with Cat in a Hat, another movie I reviewed recently. What is going on? Basically it's saying that fun is good and structure is good, but too much of a heavy focus on both isn't ideal. We get to see part of this as we watch Kelly struggle with adapting to the standards of her new school. Considering the life that she lived prior to this, naturally this would become a bit of an issue for her. From things as small as going to bed earlier to not being physically up to any of the tasks laid in front of her.
I hate heights. I'm even hoping not to get too tall.
Well, wish granted. Gotta say though, even during the movie's dullest moments, the most consistent thing is totally Hilary Duff's portrayal of Kelly. Writing and then later portraying a character like this isn't easy, assuming you don't want the audience to become tired of them. But Kelly is fun and endearing the entire way through. Totally better than the last protagonist of the DCOM I reviewed. I'd say one of the movie's most defining scenes is when Kelly is forced to do a drill over and over again until she properly completes it. To ensure that she gets this task done, Gloria Ramos has been tasked with keeping an eye on her. At first, Kelly apologizes that she has to play babysitter while everyone else is enjoying the dance, but Gloria says that she doesn't dance, nor does she like music, so she doesn't feel she's missing out on anything. Kelly's surprised to hear this, and after successfully completing the drill thanks to some advice that Gloria told her, tells her that one day she's going to teach her that having fun isn't just for chumps. Teasing for one of the first times that Kelly's presence might end up being beneficial for both herself and the people at the school. Unfortunately, thanks to one of her patented clumsy moments, Kelly accidentally ruins Jennifer's dress. This intensifies the bad treatment that Jennifer has been giving her, even resulting in Jennifer ripping up Kelly's special blanket. Kelly a better person than me, bro. If I was getting treated like this, and you put me at an academy that has guns on their premises, man, stop. Maybe we are actually more alike than I thought though, because Kelly does actually attempt to get her lick back by painting Jennifer's hair. Although all the kids think it's funny, the academy court doesn't necessarily agree, so Joe decides to put her in charge of the drill team equipment as punishment. This decision actually ends up having a positive effect on her though, as now she is starting to see the beauty in order and structure. She even starts to understand the appeal in the drill team, comparing it to Swan Lake. This is a good thing for both her and the drill team though, as in recent years, they haven't had much success in their matches. This year they want things to be different, and it doesn't really matter how much they practice. What really matters is finding something new and original to bring to the table, something that Kelly herself volunteers to bring. So she decides to try out for the drill team, enlisting Gloria as her coach. And of course, she ends up getting accepted. Then she gets to do a dance battle with Jennifer. I don't know. They kind of hitting this though, I can't lie. Clearly, I'm not the only one that agrees, as Brad decides that those two should be paired together during the drill match. Something that doesn't sit well with either of them, but if they're going to make it work, it's what they have to do. While Jennifer has to open her mind up to the concept of friendship, Kelly gets a visit from a friend of her own, Amanda, her old bestie from the city.
Everyone, this is Amanda. She's my best and truest friend.
Uh-oh. That's a setup for a subplot if I've ever seen one. During the actual match, things are going really well for Kelly at first, but she starts to panic a bit when she notices her dad, who promised to be there, isn't. To make matters worse, her phone, which she isn't supposed to have, goes off in between rounds. In her defense, it's only for the sole purpose of contacting her dad, and vice versa.
I'm sorry. Maybe your truest friend can help you out of this one.
Girl, shut you! My fault. Considering he didn't answer when she tried talking to him and the fact that he's still not there, Kelly starts to look visibly worried that something might have happened to her dad, who was known for exploring at different places. Relax, Kelly, I'm sure he's fine. He probably just lost track of time or so. Whoa! That brother slumped! I thought he just ran into traffic or something. Hold on, let me lock in for these last 10 minutes or so. This movie getting kind of lit. Given the situation, Kelly wants to go down and rescue her dad, and considering she wouldn't be able to pull up Joe, it kind of has to be her. It's like she was made for this. Plus, with the training she received, she's very confident that she'd be able to do it. This scene shows to the utmost level how being at the school has rubbed off on her, in a good way. Pre-academy Kelly wouldn't have a single idea of how to do this. But now that she's locked in, she can put everything that she's learned to the test. Kind of makes you wonder why this movie wasn't centered around some sort of wilderness explorer camp or something, if this was going to be the big scene where she applies her lessons. Nevertheless, Kelly's able to rescue her dad, making both him and Joe proud. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention this, but this dude wasted no time and already made Kelly's mom pregnant. So a big subplot of the movie wasn't just Kelly trying to make the school a little like her, but to also prepare Joe on how to be a girl dad. Joe, being the military man he is pretty cold and strict in ways that just wouldn't be right for raising a little girl. So finally, after giving Kelly handshakes throughout the whole movie, the two finally hug. And in case you were wondering how everything wrapped up, once Kelly returns to the match, we get to finally see how her being there has changed the school for the better. Both her and Jennifer get to work on their routine, presenting something that, regardless of its objective quality, is certainly something unique and original that no one watching had ever seen before, which ultimately is what the school needed. All of this being set to the song One Girl Revolution, made by Super Chick, a song that was also in Legally Blonde, funny enough. The school ends up finishing with a silver medal instead of the gold that they had all hoped for. Even though it wasn't the exact result they wanted, the team is still pretty positive. After all, they still qualified for nationals, which is a lot farther than they ever got prior to Kelly joining the team. Something that Jennifer, out of all people, actually brings up. And as you can see on screen, the two have clearly put whatever beef they had aside. While it is true that they had greater things in mind than a silver medal, the team is clearly on the right track to greatness. A track that they wouldn't be on without Kelly. So, it's like I said earlier in the video. Fun is good, structure is good too, but you'll only go far if you have the right amount of balance.
Attention! Cadet Kelly will be right back.
Now let's march on back to Cadet Kelly.
For what it's worth, I actually enjoy Cadet Kelly more than I thought I would. Definitely not one of my favorite DCOMs, but it is still better than most. The movie's strong suits come mainly from its tone, which comes almost entirely from Hilary Duff's character Kelly. Oddly enough, Kelly herself kind of feels nostalgic. Like, the way that she's written is very reminiscent of children's book characters that I grew up with, most notably Junie B. Jones. Man, I loved Junie B. Jones as a kid. How did she not get a movie? It makes no sense. Hey, I'll write it. Universal, Sony, Paramount, Warner Brothers, feel free to hit me up. Well, maybe not the last two, but yeah. Her spunky personality was a refreshing take on a DCOM protagonist. Technically, she was one of the first of her kind, but considering the amount of DCOMs I've reviewed prior to me finally getting to this one, for me, it's a nice change of pace. Other DCOMs I've reviewed, I've managed to write off as bad simply because of the fact that the main character is insufferable. But the writers making Kelly pretty likable was certainly a choice I appreciated, as it already put this movie in good positioning. This also allowed for her personality to spread across the entire film, as the whole movie ended up having a feel-good tone to it. It gave off just classic, wholesome kids film energy, something a teacher would put on during school on one of the last days. The dance-off scene had such a puzzling effect on me because I watched it, and at first I kind of rolled my eyes, but then it kept going, and eventually I saw the vision. What also helps is that the movie doesn't have some stupid, ridiculous plot that makes watching it a chore, not to mention its message of balance is pretty good. But if I like the main character and think that the movie's tone and message are all positive, then what exactly is it that is preventing this film from being one of my favorite Disney Channel original movies? This movie's so boring sometimes. It is an hour and 40 minutes, and I found maybe half of it entertaining, probably less. First 20 minutes or so is perfectly fine, but then once we actually see her in her classes, the movie becomes pretty uninteresting. I feel like a couple moments that retread similar ideas could have definitely been condensed, which would have given it a shorter runtime. Also, Carla, for most of the movie, you're great and exactly what Kelly needed, but you did not need a subplot. I really don't think it tied into the main story that well, at least not to the point where they needed to spend any time on it. I totally understand the feeling she felt when she saw Kelly with her old friend from New York, but actually using it against her and being mad about it is a little irrational. And yeah, to her credit, I'm sure it's plenty of people, teenagers especially, that have still reacted this way, but I just don't think it was necessary for this movie to explore. I'd argue her friend from New York didn't even need to make a cameo at the end. I would have been fine with her just writing letters to her or something. We also can't move on from this movie without acknowledging the fact that the mom in this movie was kind of bad, which normally on this channel would carry a different connotation, but today it actually means what it means. Marrying someone else after a divorce, perfectly fine. Moving to be closer to his job, in theory, also perfectly fine. But not even telling her until the day before they get married is horrible parenting. Years ago, when my family made a big move, my dad told the whole family that it was potentially happening 3 years before it did. I had all the time in the world to mentally prepare myself for it. I still ended up getting mad depressed anyway, so but had it been truly last minute, I would have been even worse off. And then she doesn't even ask hey, how would you potentially feel about moving to a military academy? She just does it. Your kid has presumably given you zero fuss about you splitting up from your ex-husband and getting with this new guy. The least you could have done is given her a heads up. You're crazy for that. How dare you? Anyway, that's all I got for Cadet Kelly. Middle of the pack decom that still ends up being better than most thanks to it simply not being completely stupid. Then again, anything looks like Citizen Kane next to Build a Better Boy. Oh yeah, in case you were wondering, CCR blocked me on Twitter because I pointed out how she searches her name up to see what people are saying about her. I didn't even do anything crazy, so Christy, if you're watching this, friend, it was just an observation. I didn't mean anything bad by it. Let's squash the beef, you know? Invite me onto one of your 500 podcasts so we can talk about it.
It's all good, man. Let it go. It's okay.
What I want to know, though, are your thoughts on the movie. Please feel free to let me know in the comments below. Check out my Patreon if you want to see content earlier than everyone else. Also, subscribe to my second channel, simply titled Nostalgia, for more of me. I'm also on TikTok and Letterboxd. Give me a follow on there as well, if you'd be so kind. If you're new, feel free to subscribe and hit that like button. And like always, I'm Mr. Nostalgia, and I'm out for now.